This episode is a whirlwind of emotions from Jinya looking like he lost everything, to the people that he thought he lost came to unlose their longtime good friend and father. Jinya lived a life of hatred for demons, and his end goal is to prevent his sister Suzune from becoming a demon god. After seeing everything that he thought he lost, everything becomes that much more clear as he builds clarity for his own selfish actions. Then there's Tsuchiura, a man once betrayed, all based on a misunderstanding that sounds reminiscent of Jinya's NTR situation. After Jinya finds conviction finds Tsuchiura for one last duel to the death. It is still KO Year 3, 1867. Jinya in his demon form just exposed himself in front of everyone, including his daughter Nomari and his longtime good friend Inautsuga. And of course, he was stunned and shunned as everyone looked upon a total monster. Jinya runs back to what looks like Mizuho Temple where Mosuke died, where he yeeted off his demon wife, where the demon wife gruesomely ate future illusionary Jinya wife Unagi, and where for some reason a baby was abandoned that turned out to be the sweet, wholesome, lovable daughter of Jinya's, Nomari. He went back there because we like to go back to our place of trauma, don't we? Tsuchiura goes back to tell Yasuhide to deliver the bad news that he didn't yeet Miura, Naotsuga. But Yasuhide says it's all good and sends him to Kyoto instead to command 100 lesser demons he already sent to help out the shogunate. Historically, remember that KO Year 3, 1867 is where the political powers of the shogunate falls apart and eventually moves back into the hands of the emperor and his supporters, like the isolationists, loyalists, imperialists, and pretty much any group that's against foreign influences. It looks like the shogunate has mobilized this Shinsengumi, which is like a police force loyal to the Tokugawa shogunate. This entire time, Yasuhide has been manipulating certain things from behind the scenes that forces Jinya's hand, like against Mataroku Sugino, Okada Kichi, and like in the previous episode with Tsuchiura, revealing his demon form in front of Jinya, causing him to transform himself in front of Miura, Nomari, and many others within the community. You can't go into Sword of the Demon Hunter without seeing what kind of flower that ends up symbolizing the episode. I'm not a plant expert or anything, but these most likely look like gentians, which has a history connecting the samurais and one that generally represents resilience. We can see here that a young demon Tsuchiura is being teased and spoken of poorly by other villagers for being a demon. We also know that Tsuchiura mentioned before that he was betrayed. We finally get to see a bit more of Tsuchiura's backstory. In another flashback later in the episode, it shows Yatanomori and Kaneomi making another katana. Remember that Yatanomori is a demon wife of Kaneomi that made the 4 cursed swords that yields special powers like the Sky Edge. Tsuchiura, of all people, is his pupil and has a certain lady friend that, of course, won't lead to some betrayal of some kind is introduced. When it comes to Jinya, it feels like he just lost everything, his daughter included, but he ends up being reminded of winter daphnes, you know, the other flower that blooms earlier than most during the tail end of winter. And you know what that means for our boy Jinya? Rebirth, perseverance, and eternal love. Look who shows up. That seems like the perfect waifu that's been there almost right off the bat, when Genta turned Jinya and started his new journey after Kadono. Ofu looked everywhere for him in the rain to eventually find him at Mizuho Temple. She finally asked him about why he's so insistent on eliminating demons. Not to rehash, but you guys can watch this video where it covers the first 13 episodes, and this episode that covers episode 14 about the origins of Jinya's NTR. Jinya explains how Kadono got invaded by demons and that he couldn't protect Byakuya from getting yeeted. It led to him hating his little sister Suzune, who is supposed to become a deity that rules over all demons, predicted over a century in the future, who will bring chaos to the world. It is the reason why he's been accumulating all these powers from demons to wield it against her for one final battle. Like at the start of his journey when he left Kadono, he's still unsure how he will handle facing Suzune. Yeet her, forgive her, or find some other alternative. Due to the story's symbolic nature of addressing your life purpose and knowing how he already feels all the way in the present in 2009, it's almost like Jinya is chasing a purpose to defeat demons with no clear end goal with what to do with Suzune. As Jinya explains on further to his motivations to Ofu, it is his lack of conviction and his spinelessness of this confliction of his selfish acts and how he felt that day against his sister. This is where Ofu mentioned to Jinya once again that he's a good guy that can see his own rights and wrongs. She brings forth almost an epiphany for Jinya as she makes the comparison that making the right decisions doesn't mean it leads to the perfectly desired outcome. Like what Miura Sadanaga did for Ofu, by saving her, he made himself age, basically lost his family and any connections to people that used to know him. People can see the wrong in Soba Sadanaga's decision and how that negatively affected everyone due to that decision. At the same time, he saved Ofu, meaning she wouldn't be here if he didn't do that. And that was the trade-off that Sadanaga was willing to make. Like with Unagi, Ofu brings forth another reason why Jinya made the wrong decision to allow himself to get NTR'd and not chasing after the selfish romantic outcome. Even though both Shiryuki and Jinta thought that they were doing the right thing for Kadono, when in reality, that was what led to their downfall. I don't think I can ever get over episode 1 and 14. Although Jinya sees his actions as selfish for stealing demon powers to get revenge on his sister, he still ended up saving many people in the process and built many friendships along the way and somehow becoming a daddy. That is where Naotsuga and Nomori show back up, as this scene becomes like a revelation to Jinya, as everything starts to make a ton more sense to him. Naotsuga, Nomori, Ofu being here means that they are not mistakes on his journey. After an episode where it looks like Naotsuga pulled a Natsu to never see Jinya again, he makes sure to let Jinya know that while he was afraid of Jinya's demonic form, he knows the real Jinya inside because he experienced it for himself. In an act of besties forever moment, he sobs his way into apologizing and showing Jinya how much he actually empathizes with Jinya's dilemma. And that is where we get a daddy moment. Jinya, with the help of his friends, family, has his revelation that everything that he is doing, while he is engulfed with rage against Suzune, although everything eventually leads to her, everything he has accumulated from friends, family, and power isn't necessarily a wrong thing for him to do. He can still live his life on the path to stop Suzune from becoming a demon god and live life with a sense of clarity that he is still doing good along that journey. It feels contradictory, but to carve out your own path means being selfish, even when people may see it as wrong, like in Soba Sadanaga's case. Now it's time to officially hunt Tsuchiura, who is trying to yeet his friend that just poured his eyes out for him. The 100 lesser demons that Yasuhide sent to Kyoto have already been defeated by Jinya, and so it finally leads to the true one-on-one battle between Jinya and Tsuchiura. Tsuchiura questions why he would yeet off his own and get in the way of Yasuhide's plans. On a dark night where the pouring rain couldn't obstruct the new resolve and clarity Jinya finds from his closest friends and family. Jinya finally says the quiet part out loud, that he doesn't like Yasuhide using demons to interfere in humanity's problems in Kyoto. However, he is here to face Tsuchiura based on the fact that he won't allow him to yeet off Miura in Kyoto. There are in fact people he still wants to protect on this journey. And so, the fight begins! Tsuchiura continues to be rock hard and knocks Jinya back. Jinya figures out his weakness that while his body becomes indestructible, it makes him slower. And that just means Jinya has all the time he needs to steal his power. And you know how this ends every time Jinya steals a demon's power. The episode ends with another flashback of Tsuchiura explaining to his lady friend that the Imperial Regent passed away and that the reign of Toyotomi comes to an end, meaning there is about to be a war for power. Also meaning that Kaneomi and himself are going to have to spend more time making swords. This kind of puts his lady friend off, and before she reveals something that is probably related to his betrayal, it's the cliffhanger. If you guys like my recap and commentary, please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Check out my blog at otakuson.com. Check out my previous videos on Sword of the Demon Hunter and the Fragrant Flower Blooms of Dignity. And please check out my main channel where I cover Frieren and Dan. Appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you guys on the next video.